Mix things up from the last couple of successor chapter videos I've made, I want to talk about something that I actually am familiar with this time. And as well, it's something that was actually recommended a good few times in the comments, which, hey, if you have other successor chapters that you think are really fun, I will make more. I'll make a little list. In due time, I will move away from Space Marines. I've been on a hot track because Space Marine 2's kind of caught my interest, obviously, like everyone. Today we're talking about the Exorcist, because it's a combination of two things I really enjoy in 40k. The Imperial Fist, the first Space Marine chapter I ever got into, and demons, or really just chaos in general. I adore chaos, I adore the demons, and what happens if you mix those two together? Something with hilarious results. I'm super into it. Thank you to my channel members for making all these videos possible, and a huge shout out to Nasafo for subscribing at the highest level. So the Exorcists were formed in M35 as something known in the Dark Founding, which is the 13th Space Marine founding. This is a founding that was really dark, foreboding, got some ill fortune. This is a founding made up of a lot of very stable gene seed stock. Okay, wow, I just need to come and post because that was completely wrong. I don't know where I got that from. So by a bunch, I actually just meant two. There are two confirmed Space Marine chapters that come from the 13th founding. That's specifically the Exorcists and the Death Specters, a Raven Guard chapter. And then by incredibly stable gene seed stock, I actually just mean the Exorcist, because in a typical Raven Guard fashion, the Death Specters don't have a stable gene seed stock, like at all. It's super fucked up, has a lot of mutations, a lot of their organs don't work. You know, they can't get a break at all. It is nowhere as like unlucky as the 21st, which is the cursed founding. You know, the ones where all of them got fucked up in some way. The thing that actually makes the 13th founding known as the Dark Founding is the fact that it is unknown how many chapters were actually created during it, because it is supposed that there were a lot more chapters during this. There's just zero record of how many. It's less that it's unlucky, it's more that it's just completely in the dark, which the Exorcists really absolute top of the crust Imperial Fists stock. They have absolutely zero mutations to speak of. However, they also are not really familiar with the fact that they are like the Sons of Dorn. This is a hotly kept secret that is only brought in and like told to you once you are actually fully brought in to the chapter. Why do they do this? Who knows? It is like fully a secret of why, and has to maybe do with some of their Inquisition contacts. Right at the beginning of their chapter's life, they were really just the Exorcists. I assume really, that's just some galactic level foreshadowing, because they were really just Imperial Fists, but painted differently. They really grew into that name, huh? But they got their start on a battle known as the Battle of Totem 4. On this planet, it was being invaded by a bunch of Tzeentch demons, specifically led by a large Lord of Change, who was really ravaging this place. Like, got it in major turmoil, all of those plans going to perfect fruition. However, the Exorcists held the ground, absolutely kicking the Tzeentch demon's ass. It was going poorly. So this Lord of Change decided to pull something funny. He decided to possess the then Chapter Master's mind. The Chapter Master, one Enoch Megistus, who honestly, this move in any other circumstance I feel like was the right play. You possess a Chapter Master of a Space Marine chapter that's really fucking your shit, ruining all of your plans. This is a good gambit, and it almost worked. Absolutely possessed him. However, the chapter master, good old Enoch, was a latent psyker, like hyper latent. Apparently no one caught this. So this linking of a demon and a latent psyker basically allowed Enoch to see all of these horrible dark secrets of the universe and the warp, and exposed him to a lot of power. Power he immediately tapped into. He tapped into the mind of the chief librarian of the Exorcists, communicating, yo, I'm getting possessed. We gotta get rid of this guy, where they both tapped into each other's powers. They shunted the Lord of Change right out of his body and banished him back to the warp, just combined psychic might, utilizing some of the power and secrets he gained knowledge of. It should be stated, a demon possessing you is rough. It's bad. So this isn't like an easy feat, and it's something pretty major. This battle, pretty impressive. However, the Inquisition was watching this whole time. specifically a radical sect of Ordo Malleus, known as the Plutonians. Now, this is a bad thing, the Inquisition seeing this, but the Plutonians are something a little funny. The Inquisition came down and started, first things first, started investigating Enoch because, hey, that's obvious chaos corruption. How the fuck did you shunt that guy out of your brain? They put him under immense interrogation. But Enoch was actually cleared of all heretical shit. If only Captain Titus could have gotten that same clearance. He had no chaos taint, nothing. He was pure Space Marine material. Those radical Inquisitors, the Plutonians, had a really interesting idea, and this was the perfect opportunity to use it. Because they were a big believer in the idea, you gotta fight fire with fire. You gotta fight chaos with more chaos. So this proved to be a perfect opportunity to test out a theory of theirs. They approached Enoch with an idea. Hey, you know how you got possessed and you got some really cool powers? What if we did that more? And Enoch said yes. So the Inquisition started working with the Exorcists, and they started to do this on a larger scale, just in secret. Which this also immediately shared up the Exorcists working with the Grey Knights, interestingly. It's the kind of thing where like they are allied, they don't fully like work together on everything, but they are two Space Marine chapters that work with the Inquisition, but it's not the exact same of like, the Grey Knights are at the beck and call of the Inquisition. The Exorcists are grouped with like a specific sect of the Inquisition kind of deal. The Exorcists have a lot more agency, is the main vibe. However, the Grey Knights do have a level of authority. However, the Grey Knights do have a level of authority over some of the rites and processions and actual recruitment of the Exorcists for good reason, because it involves demonic shit. Because this is where the fun stuff of the Exorcist comes in, and oh my god, I love it so much. Because they immediately got to work with their first and main rite that they do to every single Exorcist. Every single Exorcist gets possessed by a demon. This demon enters their body for 12 hours. And again, surviving a demon entering your body is fucking rough. It's really bad. Psychologically, physically, it sucks. Early on, this had a really low success rate, and this is actually noted that like one of the initial Inquisitors who like created this thing like and approached Enoch with it ruined him so bad at like the failure, he actually went insane, took a bunch of like other Exorcists and formed a renegade Space Marine chapter known as like the Swords of Epiphany, which I think is at least funny. Though the Swords of Epiphany have like just that lore blurb, no paint scheme, nothing. Though it actually seems like the whole failure rate thing has been kind of fixed, because right now it seems like the possession process is a lot safer. Because right at the end of the 12 hours, the Ordo Malleus Inquisitor they have on standby will actually banish the demon from your brain, and it's pretty rare that someone like dies from this. More than likely they will get an Exorcist out of it, who will just need some form of reconstruction surgery. Because yes, it will leave you with some intense scarring or damage. It's bad. However, there is a chance that something bad can happen to you. This process leaves you highly resistant to anything demonic. Like anything. Alongside the Imperial Fist Gene Seed, which makes you just highly resistant in general. Just your will is strengthened, your body is strengthened, like just all of that. Increased willpower. You then have the increased mental fortitude against anything warp-based from this possession ritual. You are a literal increased fighting force against the demonic without actually being like a blank. They're an incredible fighting force against specifically the demonic through this process. It's highly effective. It's a great thing to do. However, there is still an issue if, say, somebody fails it. Maybe the mental toil from this makes you snap. You just go insane from it. Or your body is so fucked up, there's no going back from it. This makes you one of the broken ones, as they call you. This is a failure. Now, you are actually, in this process, still left resilient to demons. You are resilient to possession. You are still useful. And this is still the Inquisition we're talking about, and this is still the Imperium. So, they do find a use for you. Because, in reality, you are an excellent a mobile demonic prison, just in human form. And so now your job as a just shell of a person, but you're still like aware and stuff, you're just broken in some way. If they come across a demon, an entity, something, they will use you as a prison. They will shove the demon inside of you, force a possession, and that demon cannot get out of your mind. But this does entomb you in like a living hell. You are undergoing intense, permanent torture. You're then consigned to live on a prison ship, basically, that's fully encased in like a Geller field, cast off into like the far reaches of the galaxy, hidden from the demonic and like chaos forces. If these demons were to get free, bad news. Because you can't really kill a demon. Getting rid of them in this way, you've found a loophole to make sure this demon never is able to respawn in the warp. That's pretty effective. You are forever consigned in your hell in the prison ship of the Purgatomb. It is a really stupid name, I'm not gonna lie. But if you succeed, you can go on to the next step of your trials. After training and learning the 666 rites of exorcism, also goofy, you learn a bunch of names of demons so you can better banish them, and your final main trial, which is insane. You are sent to a demon world with your squad, overseen by Grey Knights, and this is the specific one I was talking about, to where you and your boys are sent down as aspirants to go kill a fuck ton of demons. Just wipe out a lot of demons and don't die. Get an insane kill ratio, then you can leave. Yeah, you know, like a demon world. You know, the place that is like a physical manifestation of the warp in real space. The place that is essentially a warp portal that you can stand on. A place that in lore, a lot of these planets, if you actually read through like a list of them, many times if you touch it, you die. Yeah, just go set foot on it. Because if you can't do that now, you'll never be able to. And so if you survive all of this, congratulations, you are now an exorcist. You are now one of these very, very cool dudes. Now, there is one thing that I did leave out, because it is a thing that is extra goofy and is something I can genuinely see as a turning off point for people with the Exorcists. It is something that was detailed actually in one of the Death Watch books, but as detailed in Shadowbreaker, there's another practice in your recruitment as a member of the Exorcists. What they do is you make a deal with a warp entity or a demon. While you're making this deal, you immediately, obviously, have an Inquisitor and some of your higher-ups around you. You have to make a deal with a really scary entity. And during this deal, if you give any sort of implication that you are going to fully comply or you're going to break under this deal, you are killed on the spot. However, your goal is to make the deal fully, keep your wits about you, keep your willpower. And the moment the deal is struck, your soul is ripped out of your body by a psyker, shoved in a comatose clone that is immediately put in cryostasis, shoved in a ship, also locked into a Geller field, shielded from any form of like warp sight. And what has happened to you now as a space marine? Your soul is still connected, you know, to that like clone. So you still like are alive, you're still a person, but in all intents and purposes, you are invisible in the warp. You are just blank, but not like with the effect of a blank, which is that whole aspect I made a video on the Sisters of Silence, where the whole thing about blanks causing all of like their whole effect because they don't have souls is bullshit. Go watch that video. I break down why blanks are the way they are. But when that entity comes back and is ready to make good on that deal, they pop out. And where the fuck is that guy? Where did he go? You are invisible. You are gone. He cannot fucking find you. You have struck out on even more information than before, because the whole process of like getting possessed already taps in to greater information from a demon. As Enoch discovered, you get possessed by a demon. For some reason, you now have all of the info that the demon had. All of those dark, esoteric secrets that demon kind holds, which is a pretty honestly oversight from demonkind. However, I'm pretty sure it's held in check by the fact that most people who get possessed die in some aspect. You get that process. Then you get the next step by making a deal that in no possible fucking way can this entity make good on it. You've double-crossed him. You've pulled a fucking John Constantine base, and this is being done on a larger scale, I think. I'll get into that part in a bit. But the other aspect is because you have no soul, demons, to a certain extent, cannot see you now. You are invisible. So there's a scene in Shadowbreaker where like some of the characters are being, you know, attacked by demons and they're trapped. And so the Exorcist character strolls on in and all these minor demons don't fucking see him. He's invisible and he just kills them. And they're like, what the fuck? Because no one can see him. He's invisible to them. Obviously, like really greater demons, if like they're looking directly at you, they can see you, but like minor demons, like the shitters, they can't. And I do understand, I think at a broader scale, I think this is a little goofy. And I understand if this aspect is more of a turnoff. It is my personal headcanon, as loath as I am to say that word. I am evidence-based in all things. I don't like the idea of fan cannons or head cannons. That's not how I operate. But based on everything I've seen and kind of how a lot of this stuff operates, I am under the belief that this is a thing that they do for people who have like abnormal levels of willpower and resilience. This is not something they're going to be doing for everybody. To put it in 40k narrative terms, this is somebody who... This is a process that they're going to give out for the Exorcist who doesn't wear a helmet and is like a named character. So, you know, like the main character of whatever story they're doing. If he had a model, he'd be standing on a rock. This aspect is actually why the Exorcists are kind of hated by a good number of other factions. Granted, the whole possession part of them is not known. This is something they keep secret for obvious reason. Obviously, that's kept shut. If a lot of people knew about that, it would be bad news. But it is kind of rumored and known that they are the type to fight fire with fire. They are kind of rumored to be heretical, and at the very least have kind of petitioned to get rid of them, and have been turned down. Because no, the Exorcists are super useful to throw at demonic shit, or just a problem. You throw them at a problem, it'll get done. Similar deal of why I like the Raptors so much. I like me a Space Marine chapter that is kind of annoying to everyone else around them in some way. Like how useful they are to a situation outweighs that annoyance. But yeah, that's the Exorcist. I could go into more details because like you could always go into, I don't know, more tactic stuff. You can go into list of wars, like stuff with the Bad Ab War and their history with Primaris, and that they really like the Primaris Marines and like whatever. But to be honest, I think the whole history with like their recruitment and how they actually go about all of that is way more interesting and is kind of more pertinent when it comes to the Exorcists. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna be shifting up more. I'll be talking about stuff that isn't Space Marines probably soon. So yeah, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, do that stuff, join my membership, and